The Cleveland Browns are right back in scandalous territory. But this time, it's not about injury lists, bad trades, or washed-up veterans chasing one more miracle. This time, it's about power. Behind the scenes, a quiet battle is unfolding, one that's putting the entire future of the franchise at stake. On one side, you've got a coaching staff obsessed with playing it safe, clinging to system-friendly veterans like Joe Flacco and playing hot potato with backups who offer zero spark. On the other, owner Jimmy Haslam, a man who sees something the coaches refuse to acknowledge. A 22-year-old rookie who may have his flaws, sure, but might also be the only one on the roster with real upside. His name? Shedeur Sanders. Now, let's get one thing clear early. Shedeur's not being held back because of ability. He's being politically benched. This isn't player development, it's strategic suppression. Because the real problem isn't Shedeur's mechanics. It's not game readiness. It's that he wasn't their guy. He's Haslam's bet. And rather than build around him, the coaches are going out of their way to prove him wrong and refusing to even let the kid fail on his own terms. But here's the twist. The fans see it now. The tension is no longer subtle. It's visible at press conferences, at practice reports, in cryptic interviews, and most of all, in how the reps are getting split. This isn't just frustrating anymore. It's sabotage. And in the middle of it all, Shedeur Sanders, quiet, composed, waiting for a moment that might never come unless something forces the issue. So today, we're peeling back the curtain. What's really going on in Cleveland? Why is the franchise burying its best shot at the future? And how long until that silent power struggle explodes for the world to see? You wouldn't even have to dig deep to find the dysfunction in Cleveland anymore. It's playing out in plain sight. There's a quiet war simmering, not between players, but between the coaching staff and the front office. Every press conference, every vague answer, every overly safe game plan speaks volumes. The signs are there. This isn't just a QB room trying to sort itself out. It's a power struggle over who gets to shape the team's future. The coaching staff is riding veterans like Flacco and Dillon Gabriel under the banner of experience and system knowledge. But what they're really doing? Protecting what they've built, even if what they've built is failure. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, owner Jimmy Haslam is watching closely. And unlike Stefanski and his crew, Haslam isn't panicking over job security. He's playing the long game. Asking the tough questions, tracking every shred of progress from one rookie, Shedeur Sanders. And the tension? It's no longer subtle. Gabriel is getting second-team reps despite being thoroughly mediocre. Flacco, for all his veteran presence, is putting up hollow stats. And yet, Shedeur, a player the owner believes in, is chained to third-string packages and garbage-time slots, where failure is practically scripted. But this drama isn't fueled by performance, it's rooted in insecurity. The staff didn't draft Sanders, they didn't endorse him. And if he succeeds, they'll have to admit they backed the wrong guys. So instead of letting the most talented QB on the depth chart learn through action, they're burying him to protect their own narrative, which raises the question, how many L's does it take before the truth can't be hidden anymore? Let's talk about that preseason stat line. -27 yards, 5 sacks, 0 scoring drives. Sounds brutal, right? That's what the headline said. That's what the talking heads ran with. Bust, not ready, overhyped. But step back for just a second and really look at the situation. Shedeur didn't fail. He was set up to. Let's break that down. Day of game script? Vanilla. Offensive line? Mostly third stringers who couldn't block a breeze. The receivers? Backup guys trying to make the practice squad, not starters with real chemistry or talent. Every snap Shedeur was handed looked more like a trap than an opportunity. And the 2-minute drill? The one chance he had to find rhythm, to command the huddle, to show the spark that got him drafted? Gone. Yanked. Coaches pulled him when it mattered most, claiming situational reps management. Come on, that's not development, that's damage control. Let's talk about that preseason stat line. Negative 27 yards, 5 sacks, 0 scoring drives. Sounds brutal, right? That's what the headline said. That's what the talking heads ran with. Bust, not ready, overhyped. But step back for just a second and really look at the situation. Shedeur didn't fail. He was set up to. Let's break that down. Day of game script, vanilla. Offensive line, mostly third stringers who couldn't block a breeze. The receivers, backup guys trying to make the practice squad, not starters with real chemistry or talent. Every snap Shedeur was handed looked more like a trap than an opportunity. And the 2-minute drill, the one chance he had to find rhythm, to command the huddle, to show the spark that got him drafted, gone, yanked. Coaches pulled him when it mattered most, claiming situational reps management. Come on, that's not development, that's damage control. Because while the Browns' coaching staff keeps pushing safe narratives, Flacco knows the system, Gabriel is efficient, blah, 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 Haslam is quietly doing what real owners are supposed to do, project the future. And in that future, he sees one name with actual upside, Shedeur Sanders. Reports say Haslam's been attending practices religiously, requesting updates, watching film. He's not just passively observing, he's engaged. And from everything we're hearing, he likes what he's seeing. Not polished, not perfect, but something real, something that can't be coached. You know what that is? That intangible presence, the same spark people saw when Josh Allen was raw and reckless. The same, he might be more than this, vibe Lamar had when critics said he should change positions. The same someday promise Mahomes carried while sitting behind Alex Smith. Haslam sees that in Sanders. And that's what's driving this internal conflict. Because the coaching staff, they want job security. They got 9 wins circled on a dry erase board and are praying it's enough to survive the year. But Haslam? He's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkdowns. Owners invest in futures. Coaches panic over Sundays. So when one group sees Shedeur as a risk and the other sees him as a long-term asset, you get exactly what Cleveland's dealing with right now. A franchise torn in 2 directions and a rookie quarterback caught in the crossfire. Haslam believes he found the guy. Now the only question is, will the people he's paying to run the team ever see it too? This is not just a quarterback controversy. It's a full-blown power struggle inside the Browns organization. On the surface, it looks like a coaching decision. But peel back the layers and what you find is a silent war over control. And Shedeur Sanders is the battleground. Head coach Kevin Stefanski and his staff are gripping tight to the one thing they think will protect them, the status quo. They're rolling with safe vets, conservative calls, and short-term thinking. Because they're not building for 3 years from now. They're trying to survive this season. One wrong move, one risky rookie rollout, and their jobs are on the line. But Jimmy Haslam? He isn't sweating the next 5 weeks. He's thinking 5 years ahead. And that's where the collision is happening. The coaching staff didn't draft Shedeur. They didn't co-sign him. In fact, word around the league says they wanted someone else entirely. So when Haslam stepped in and made the pick himself, it wasn't just a surprise. It was a statement. Now, if Shedeur succeeds, that's Haslam's win, not Stefanski's. Which means if the staff plays him and he thrives, they lose leverage. But if they keep him benched and things fall apart, they can sell the "we told you so." It's not about readiness. It's about ownership optics versus coaching pride. And the longer this standoff goes on, the more toxic it becomes. Fans feel it. Players see it. The locker room starts to divide. Because when the most talented quarterback isn't getting reps, not because he's not ready, but because of politics, that's not coaching. That's sabotage. And if no one checks it soon, Cleveland's not just risking a lost season. They're risking a fractured franchise. Let's address the excuse that gets thrown around like clockwork. Shedeur's not ready. That's the line, said with just enough authority to shut down any further conversation. But let's be real, it's lazy. Because not ready is football speak for we don't want to deal with what happens if he actually works. Let's rewind. Were Josh Allen's first few games polished? Not even close. Lamar Jackson had critics screaming for a position change. Even Justin Herbert only got his shot because of a team doctor's mistake. They weren't handed perfectly designed playbooks. They were thrown in, and they figured it out. You know why? Because they were given reps, given trust, given room to grow. But Shedeur, he's been on a tight leash since day one. And when he's finally thrown in, it's behind backup linemen with generic play calls and no rhythm. And then they pull him before he even finds his footing? That's not protecting a rookie. That's protecting a narrative. Because deep down, the staff knows, once Shedeur gets real time with the ones, he might show everything they've been pretending he doesn't have. So when you hear that "he's not ready" quote, ask yourself, not ready for what? To make mistakes? To grow? Or not ready to prove someone else wrong? Because if readiness was the actual standard, half the league's starters wouldn't have careers. At some point, the excuse wears thin. The fans stop buying it. The energy shifts. And "he's not ready" starts to sound a lot less like caution and a lot more like fear. And that fear, it just might be what's keeping the Browns' best chance at the future on the bench. Here's what makes this entire situation even more wild. Shedeur Sanders is handling it like a 10-year vet. Seriously, no leaks, no drama, no social media tantrums, no interviews throwing shade at the coaching staff. Just a quiet grind. Early mornings, late film sessions, focused reps, steady presence. In a league full of finger-pointing and passive-aggressive soundbites, Shedeur's silence is louder than anything. That's not normal for a 22-year-old fresh off a disappointing preseason showing being publicly doubted. Most rookies would crack, many would clap back, but Shedeur, he's just waiting, preparing. And that's exactly what makes this story so frustrating. Because what coaches say they want in a quarterback, Shedeur's been doing it. Patience, leadership, composure, all of it. He's not panicking. He's not pushing. He's not politicking behind the scenes. Meanwhile, guys ahead of him on the depth chart are throwing ducks, leading 3-and-outs, and praying the press asks about someone else at the podium. Yet somehow, the guy showing the most professionalism, the guy built for that QB1 pressure, is the same one getting the least opportunity. And maybe that's what makes this so hard to watch, because Shedeur's doing everything right and still getting nothing in return. If this coaching staff truly cared about building a quarterback instead of managing optics, he'd already be out there. Because this isn't just about throwing a football. It's about showing you belong, even while the system quietly bets against you. And if Shedeur can handle this moment with this much class, just imagine how he'll handle it when he finally gets the ball. You can feel it, right? That slow build, that pressure rising every week. Cleveland's not just tiptoeing toward a decision, they're sprinting toward a breaking point. Another loss, another bland offensive showing. A few more "we'll reassess after the bye week" quotes. And boom, this whole thing explodes. How long do they honestly think fans will sit through Joe Flacco short-arming drag routes like it's 2015? Or Dylan Gabriel scrambling for 3 yards while excitement dies in the red zone? The crowd's already restless. Local radio is starting to ask the questions. And every recap show, they're circling one name: Shedeur Sanders. It's coming. Could be a blowout on national TV. Could be a 3-game skid where the offense scores 13 points total. Could be an anonymous locker room leak that sets media fires ablaze. Whatever the trigger is, it's near. And when that moment hits, it won't be a calculated, "let's give the rookie a shot" decision. No, it'll be desperation. It'll be survival. A franchise cornered by noise, fear, and failure, suddenly turning to the one option they've ignored for too long. But here's the twist no one's ready for. Shedeur is. Every rep, every practice, every moment of preparation is adding fuel to a debut that's going to feel inevitable. And when it happens, when he steps onto that field, watch how quickly the narrative shifts. Watch how fast that stadium finds its voice again. Because Shedeur's not just holding a clipboard, he's holding a fuse. And once it's lit, the whole dynamic in Cleveland changes. Let's stop pretending this is about football performance. At this point, it's not about development, readiness, or systemic fit. It's about ego. Shedeur Sanders didn't come from nowhere. He walked into the NFL with elite college production, a sharp football IQ, and a last name that echoes through the league. But here's the catch. He wasn't the coaching staff's pick. They didn't co-sign his playing style. They didn't campaign for him in draft meetings. He was a Jimmy Haslam decision, straight from the top. And that's the piece nobody wants to admit out loud. Because if Shedeur walks in and performs, Stefanski and his staff don't get to take credit. They have to watch the spotlight shift to the one guy in the organization they've been quietly resisting all along. The owner who sees upside they were too stubborn to acknowledge. And in the NFL, that's dangerous. Not because coaches don't want talented players. They do. But they want their players, in their system, on their terms. So instead of leaning into Shedeur's potential, they've been doing mental gymnastics to justify keeping him sidelined, calling it development, caution, or part of the process. But let's be real, it's politics and shoulder pads. And it's not just hurting Shedeur. It's hurting the team. It's hurting the fans. It's hurting a franchise that's desperate for direction and clearly ignoring the one player who actually sparks hope. This isn't about tape anymore. It's about pride. And if the Browns don't put that aside soon, they're not just going to lose games. They're going to lose the future sitting quietly on their bench. At this point, it's not even a question of whether Shedeur Sanders deserves a shot. It's a question of whether the Browns coaching staff can put aside their pride long enough to do what everyone else can already see needs to happen. Because this isn't just about a rookie quarterback with potential. It's about a franchise running out of direction, out of excuses, and frankly, out of time. You've got a fan base that's starving for something real, something new, something that doesn't feel like just another backup QB holding the spot. And while the locker room grows quieter, the media gets louder, and Flacco's best days fade even further into memory. Shedeur is still sitting there, focused, prepared, ready. Is he going to make mistakes? Of course. Every rookie does. But mistakes can be coached. Stagnation can't. The Browns don't need safe anymore. They need bold. They need energy, identity, and belief. And only one quarterback on this roster has the ceiling to deliver that. Start him. Not next week. Not after the bye. Not when it's already too late. Now. Because if this coaching staff waits until the walls cave in, if they keep clinging to control while hope walks out the door in cleats, then don't be shocked when Jimmy Haslam makes them the next ones out. Shedeur Sanders doesn't just represent a possible future. At this point, he is the future.